Huh. They got you chasing ghosts, huh? Running circles, trying to prove to a pack of wolves that you're not made of meat. That's the thing about them. They see you bleeding, and they start to think you're prey. But here's the truth. They ain't satisfied till they see you crawling, till you've emptied yourself dry, begging for a seat at their rotten little table. Pathetic. You want to know the punchline to their sick joke? You don't owe them a damn thing. Not a drop of sweat, not an ounce of pain, not a single breath. They built this whole circus just to see you dance, to watch you break your back for a half smirk of approval. But what they don't tell you is this. You're free the moment you stop caring if they clap. See people like them? They're miserable. They can't stand the sight of someone who doesn't need their permission to exist. It's not that they want you to fail. It's worse. They want you to keep trying, to stay on your knees, thinking if you just fight hard enough, they'll finally open the gates and let you in. But that's the con. The gates were never locked. Hell, they don't even exist. You think it's about proving your worth? No. It's about making sure you never realize you already had it. That's the cruelest trick. Convincing you that you need to earn what was yours all along. The moment you stop trying to prove yourself to them, you become something they can't control, a wild card. And they hate that. Oh, how they hate that. They want you busy, too busy to figure out that the ones pointing fingers got the dirtiest hands. They tell you to keep your head down, follow the rules, play the long game. But take a good look at them. The ones telling you to stay in line ain't ever been where you're going. They've never fought with the wolves, never bled alone in the dark. Their victories were handed to them on silver platters, and they want you to believe yours will be too, if you just keep proving yourself. But tell me this, why the hell should you prove anything to people who couldn't survive a day in your skin? They've never seen the world from the gutters you've crawled through. They've never had to stitch their own wounds, wipe their own tears, bury their own ghosts. You're the one who fought with your fists cracked and bloody, who dragged yourself back up every time they spat in your face. You're the one who stayed, even when everyone else left. That's worth something. That's worth more than all their backhanded compliments and hollow praise. You know what I think? I think they're scared. Because deep down, they know that if you ever stop trying to prove yourself to them, if you ever realized that their opinions are worth less than dust, you'd be unstoppable. But they'll never say that. No, they'll just keep moving the goalposts, keep whispering that you're almost there, just a little harder, a little longer. It's a lie. You're not almost there. You've been there all along. You just gotta see it. The way I see it, you got two options. You keep dancing for their scraps, keep twisting yourself into knots trying to impress people who'll never be impressed. Or you burn the damn script. Walk away. Not because you're weak, but because you finally realized that the strongest move is to stop playing a rigged game. They want you to believe that if you walk away, you've lost. But that's the twist, see? The real victory is walking away without looking back. It's watching their jaws drop when they realize they can't pull your strings anymore. You don't need their applause. You never did. They'll call you arrogant. They'll say you're scared of failure, that you're not good enough to play with them. But you gotta understand, that's just noise. People like that, they can't comprehend someone who doesn't crave their approval. It terrifies them, because if you don't need them, then they're powerless. And God, they hate being powerless. So let them talk. Let them write you off, call you every name in the book, smile, nod. Because at the end of the day, their words are just that, words. They don't build empires. They don't win wars. And they sure as hell don't define who you are. The only one you gotta prove anything to is the face in the mirror. That's it. And between you and me, I think you've already proven enough. All that's left is for you to see it, to realize that their little game was never worth your time. That all those sleepless nights, all that pain and sacrifice, it wasn't for them. It was for you. You think they understand the nights you spent staring at the ceiling? Fists clenched, chest heavy with the weight of it all? You think they understand what it feels like to be buried alive in your own mind, clawing for air while they stand at the surface, grinning? Number they don't understand, and they never will. So stop breaking your back for people who'd let you drown. Stop handing them swords and wondering why they keep stabbing you in the back. You got nothing to prove to them. Nothing. You're still breathing. After everything, after all the knives and lies and empty promises, you're still here. And that's enough. They want you to prove yourself. To who? A bunch of scared little sheep pretending to be wolves? Number. You're done proving yourself to anyone but you. Take the chains off. Light a match. Burn their expectations to the ground and walk away. Because the only thing worse than fighting a war you can't win is fighting one you never needed to fight in the first place. Let them watch as you leave. Let them choke on their words. Because in the end, their opinions die with them. But the legacy of a man who fights for himself, that lives forever. So what's it gonna be? Keep dancing for an audience that'll never applaud, or walk away and let the silence remind them of everything they'll never be? Your move, kid. You see, kid, the real prison isn't the walls they build around you. It's the walls they build inside your head. It's that voice they plant, whispering that you're not enough, that if you just tried a little harder, bent a little further, they'd finally see your worth. But that's the trap. You can twist yourself into knots, bleed yourself dry, and it still wouldn't be enough. Not because you're lacking, but because they need you to believe that you are. That's the only way they stay in control. The moment you wake up, the moment you stop buying their lies, the whole charade falls apart. But waking up, well, that's the hard part, ain't it? Because admitting that they were never gonna accept you no matter what, that stings more than any knife in the back. It's easier to keep chasing, keep hoping that maybe this time they'll clap. But let me tell you something. Hope, when it's tied to the approval of people who thrive on seeing you crawl, is a chain just as strong as fear. They know that. They count on it. They dress it up real nice. Call it ambition. Call it drive. Make you believe that if you just endure a little more humiliation, a little more pain, you'll finally be one of them. But you'll never be one of them. You weren't made to fit in their little boxes, to smile and nod and play nice. You weren't made to kneel. That's why they hate you so much. That's why they keep trying to break you. Because somewhere deep down, they know you're different. You're something they can't understand, can't control. And that scares them. God, it terrifies them. That's why they keep raising the bar and keep moving the goalposts. Because the moment you stop trying to win their game, the moment you realize you don't need their approval to be enough, you become something they can't touch. But the truth is a bitter pill to swallow, ain't it? Admitting that the people you broke yourself for never really gave a damn, that they only ever saw you as another pawn to move around the board. It makes all those years you spent running yourself ragged feel like a joke. Makes you want to scream, tear down everything, burn the whole damn game to the ground. And maybe that's not such a bad idea. Maybe it's time to stop playing by their rules. Time to stop living for the applause of people who'll never understand your struggle, who'll never carry your scars. You see, kid, freedom isn't about escaping the cage. It's about realizing the cage was never locked. The door's been open the whole time. You just gotta stop waiting for permission to walk through it. You gotta stop needing them to tell you it's okay to be who you are, to want what you want, because they never will. They can't. Their power depends on you staying in that cage, thinking you need them to survive. But the moment you stop caring if they understand, if they approve, if they like you, that's the moment you win. That's the moment you become something they can never break. And yeah, it's lonely. It's cold out there in the dark, with no one clapping, no one cheering, just you and the silence. But that's where the real ones are born. That's where legends are made. In the quiet, in the dark. When there's no one left to lie to, no one left to impress, just you and the truth. And the truth is, you were never less than enough. They just couldn't stand to see someone who didn't need them to be whole. They couldn't stand to see someone who wouldn't play the part, who wouldn't sell his soul for a little bit of praise. But here's the thing about standing alone. It makes you stronger than they'll ever be. It makes you untouchable. Because the man who needs nothing can't be bought, can't be broken. And that's what they'll never understand. That's what'll haunt them long after you've left their little circus in ashes. They'll lay awake at night, choking on their own lies, knowing that all the power they had over you was nothing but smoke and mirrors. So let them talk. Let them slander your name. Let them twist the story, make you the villain in their little fairy tale. Let them do their worst, because in the end, their words are just empty bullets, fired from rusty guns by cowards too scared to face their own reflection. And you, well, you're still standing, still breathing. After everything, after every knife and every lie, you're still here. That's power. That's strength. Not the kind they talk about with their fancy suits and shiny smiles, but the kind that keeps getting back up, no matter how many times the world tries to bury it. And yeah, maybe the scars never really heal. Maybe you carry them forever. Reminders of every time you bled alone in the dark. But that's not weakness. That's proof. Proof that you fought and survived. That you refused to break. Refused to let them win. And if that makes you a monster, well, maybe it's time to stop apologizing for it. Maybe it's time to embrace the darkness, to stop trying to be something you're not for a world that'll never appreciate what you are. Because at the end of the day, the only person you gotta face is yourself. The only approval that matters is the kind you find staring back at you in the mirror. And the man who doesn't need anyone's permission to exist, that man is free. That man is dangerous because he's got nothing to lose, nothing to prove, and nothing left to fear. So walk away, burn the bridges if you have to, light a match, and don't look back. Let them choke on the ashes. Let them scream and curse your name. Let them tell their lies to anyone who will listen. It doesn't matter. They're prisoners to their own delusions, slaves to the applause, desperate for a seat at a table that was always rotten to the core. But you're free. And that, kid, is the cruelest joke of all. So let the silence fall. Let the world turn without you. Stand in the ashes of everything they thought they'd built and laugh. Because the real victory isn't proving them wrong. It's realizing you never had to. It's realizing you were enough all along, scars and all. And if they want to call you a monster for it, if they want to write you off as arrogant or bitter or broken, let them. Monsters don't lose sleep over the opinions of sheep. Monsters survive. And the ones who survive write the story. So write yours in fire and blood, in silence and truth, and let them choke on every word, because you got nothing to prove, not to them, not to anyone, only to yourself. And that, kid, is the hardest lesson of all, ain't it? That you're alone in this fight, not because nobody cares, but because nobody gets it. Not really. You spend years clawing your way out of the dark, thinking maybe, just maybe, If you scream loud enough, someone will hear you. But they don't. They're too busy drowning in their own noise, too busy pretending they ain't terrified of the silence. So you learn to hold it all in, to bite your tongue till it bleeds, to carry the weight without ever letting it show. That's the game they taught you, right? Keep smiling, keep playing nice. Keep making sure everyone else is comfortable, even when you're falling apart. But here's the thing about pretending. You do it long enough, and you start to forget who you were before the mask. You start to believe that maybe this is all you'll ever be. So you keep proving yourself. Keep grinding yourself into dust, hoping that if you suffer enough, fight hard enough, you'll finally be worthy. But worthy of what, exactly? A pat on the back from a bunch of people who couldn't survive a day in your skin? Applause from an audience that'll move on the second you're not bleeding for their entertainment? Number, that ain't worth it. Not even close. You see, they want you exhausted. They want you too tired to think, too broken to fight back. That's the trick. Keep you chasing a dream they'll never let you catch. Keep you running on empty till you finally collapse. And then, well, they move on to the next poor bastard desperate enough to believe their lies. It's a cycle, a meat grinder for souls, and they've been perfecting it for years. The only way to win is to stop playing, to stand still while the whole world screams at you to run, to look them dead in the eye and say, no more. But that takes a different kind of strength, doesn't it? Not the kind you get from fists or fury, but the kind that comes from ripping out the lies they planted in your head and watching them burn. The kind that says, I am enough, even if you never see it, even if no one ever does. That's the strength that scares them, the kind they can't control or predict, because a man who knows his own worth can't be bought, can't be bent, can't be made to dance for scraps. And that, well, that makes you dangerous. You think they don't see it? That spark in your eyes? The one that says you're 2 steps away from tearing the whole system down? They see it all right. That's why they push so hard, why they keep tightening the screws. They need to break that spark before it catches fire, before you wake up and realize that the chains were never real, that the prison was always in your mind. But they're too late, aren't they? You've already started to see it, already started to taste what freedom might feel like, what it might mean to stop apologizing for who you are. And that, oh, that scares them more than anything. They'll call you selfish. They'll call you a monster, say you've changed, that you're bitter, angry, lost. Let them. Those are just words they use when they see someone they can't tame, someone who refuses to stay on his knees. Because deep down, they know the truth. They made you this way. Every lie, every knife in the back, every cold shoulder, they built this. They forged you in betrayal and silence. And now they want to act surprised when you stop smiling and start swinging back. So swing. Burn it all down if you have to. Tear the mask off and let them see the scars, the rage, the emptiness. Show them the monster they created, and smile when they flinch, because you've spent enough nights drowning in silence, enough years tearing yourself apart, trying to be what they wanted. It's time to stop. Time to take back what's yours. The pain, the rage, the freedom to live on your own terms. No apologies, no regrets. And yeah, it's gonna hurt. Walking away always does. Because a part of you is still that scared kid, desperate for a kind word, for someone to say, "You're enough." That part of you is gonna scream, gonna claw, and beg to turn back, to try one more time, to bleed a little more, just to hear them say it. But you can't. Not anymore. Because the truth is, they'll never say it. They can't. Their power depends on you never realizing you're enough without them, that you don't need their approval to breathe, to exist, to fight back. So let that part of you die, bury it deep, and don't look back. Because the boy who needed their love, their acceptance, he didn't survive. You did. You. The one with blood on his knuckles and darkness in his eyes. The one who stared into the abyss and didn't blink. You don't need their love. You don't need anyone's. That's the cruelest joke of all, ain't it? That all this time, all the pain and suffering and nights alone, it was never about them. It was about you, finding the strength to stand alone, to build a kingdom out of ashes with your bare hands. So build it, brick by bloody brick. Tear down every lie they ever told you, and build something real, something that doesn't need their permission to exist. And when they come crawling back, when they try to slip their chains around your neck again, cut them down. Look them in the eye and let them see the fire. Let them see that you're not the boy who needed their love. Not anymore. You're something else now. Something they can't tame, can't control, can't ever break again. Because that's the real power. Not in fists or words or even rage, but in walking away without a backward glance, in knowing that you owe them nothing, not your pain, not your forgiveness, not a single damn thing. Let them keep their lies, their empty smiles, their broken promises. Let them rot in their little glass houses while you build something real, something that lasts. Because they'll tell you it's about winning, about proving them wrong, about rising above, but it's not. It's about freedom. It's about taking back your life, your soul, every broken piece they stole, and gluing it back together with blood and grit and fire. It's about looking them dead in the eye and saying, "I'm still here." That's the punchline. That's the victory. So laugh, scream if you have to. Let the world hear that you're done apologizing, done proving yourself, done playing by rules written by cowards. Because the man who fights for himself, who answers to no one but the face in the mirror. That man is unstoppable. That man is free. And in the end, that's all that matters. Not their approval, not their praise, not even their hate, just the silence when they realize you never needed them to begin with. Just the ashes of their lies smoldering in the dark, while you walk away with fire in your eyes and freedom in your veins. That's the joke, kid. That's the twist. You've been free all along. Now burn the cage and show them what that means. And that's the part they'll never understand, isn't it? The part that keeps them awake at night, staring at the ceiling, trying to figure out where it all went wrong. How someone they spent years trying to break could still stand their eyes, cold and steady, mouth set in a grim line. They don't get it. They never will, because they've spent their whole lives hiding from the dark, building walls and lighting candles and pretending the shadows ain't coming for them. But you were born in it, shaped by it. Learned to see in the pitch black when everyone else was too busy closing their eyes. That's what makes you dangerous. Not the rage or the scars or even the pain, but the fact that you can stare into the abyss and it flinches first. That's power, the kind they can't buy or steal or fake. And they hate you for it. Because if there's one thing the world can't stand, it's a man who doesn't need its approval to survive. A man who can take every knife, every lie, every betrayal, and turn it into fuel, into fire, into a reason to keep going when every sane person would have quit a long time ago. But that's the thing about sanity, ain't it? It's a luxury for people who've never had to crawl through the mud, never had to fight with blood in their mouth and no one in their corner. Sanity is for the safe, the comfortable, the ones who sleep soundly in their little glass houses, pretending the world ain't rotting outside their door. But for the rest of us, for the ones who've tasted betrayal and learned to smile through broken teeth, sanity is just another chain. It's a muzzle they strap on to keep us from tearing down the lies they built their kingdoms on. So maybe you are a monster. Maybe the dark did twist you up inside, leave you colder, harder, with edges sharp enough to draw blood. But monsters survive. Monsters claw their way out of graves, stitch themselves back together with spit and spite, and keep moving, no matter how many times the world tries to bury them. And maybe that's not noble or heroic, or any of the pretty words they use to dress up the ones who die for nothing, but it's real, it's honest. And in a world built on lies, maybe that's enough. See, they don't want you to be honest. Not with them, not with yourself. Because honesty is dangerous. Honesty is admitting that the only reason they keep you around is to feel better about their own empty lives. That they need someone to look down on, someone to blame when the mask slips and they catch a glimpse of the rot underneath. They need you broken, need you begging, need you to keep tearing yourself apart for a seat at a table that was never meant for you. But the moment you see through it, the moment you stop trying to be what they want, stop playing the part they wrote for you, that's the moment you become a threat. That's the moment they start sharpening their knives, start spreading their lies, start calling you selfish, arrogant, bitter, because they can't afford to let the others see it. Can't afford to let anyone realize that maybe, just maybe, there's a way out of the cage. And yeah, walking away leaves a bitter taste, leaves you standing alone in the cold, hands empty, teeth clenched, trying to remember how to breathe without all the noise, without all the lies whispering that you're nothing without them. It's a special kind of pain, tearing out the parts of you that spent years craving their approval, learning to exist without the need to prove yourself to a world that never deserved you in the first place. It's like scraping rust off iron, slow, bloody work that leaves you raw and exposed and half convinced you'll never be whole again. But that's the only way out, the only way to win, not by proving them wrong, but by proving to yourself that you don't need to, by learning to stand alone in the dark, by making peace with the silence and the scars and the parts of you that'll never be clean again. That's the real freedom, not applause or victory or any of the pretty lies they sell you, but the simple, brutal truth that you're enough just as you are, that you always were. And sure, they'll call you heartless, say you're cold, say you don't care, that you've let the dark swallow you whole. Let them. Those are just words the weak use to keep the strong from walking away. Just shackles made of breath and air, empty as the promises they used to keep you in line. But you're done listening, done waiting for the world to give you permission to breathe, to fight, to exist. Because if there's one thing you've learned crawling through the dark, it's that you can't save people who like the chains, can't free those who've convinced themselves that the cage is all there is. You'll waste your whole life trying to pull them out, trying to show them the truth, and they'll hate you for it, because the truth hurts. The truth is that most people would rather die in chains than live with bloody hands and a clear conscience. So let them rot. Let them whisper and sneer and write you off as a lost cause. Let them call you cold, cruel, selfish. Let them spit their venom until their throats are raw and their tongues turn black. Because in the end, their words die with them. In the end, all that's left is silence and blood and the ones who had the guts to crawl through hell and come out the other side, breathing. And that's you, the one who didn't break, who didn't kneel, who didn't hand over his soul for a little bit of comfort and a smile that never reached their eyes. The one who learned to fight with bleeding knuckles and empty hands and eyes that have seen too much and never once looked away. That's power. That's freedom. Not in chains or titles or applause, but in the choice to stand alone, to walk away, to look the world in the eye and say, I don't need you. And if that makes you a monster, then so be it. Monsters don't lose sleep over the opinions of sheep. Monsters don't beg for scraps from a table built on lies and betrayal. Monsters survive. They thrive in the dark, build kingdoms out of bones and blood, and learn to smile through broken teeth. And that, well, that's something they'll never understand. So walk away. Let the bridges burn. Let the past turn to ashes and the lies choke on their own smoke. You've got nothing to prove. Not to them, not to the world, not even to yourself. You've already won. The moment you stopped caring, the moment you stopped needing them to see, to understand, that was the victory. That was the freedom. And when the smoke clears, when the silence falls and all the liars are dead and gone, you'll still be standing. You, the monster, the outcast, the one who didn't break, didn't bend, didn't beg, the one who took the darkness and wore it like armor, who looked into the abyss and didn't flinch. Because the truth is simple, brutal, unchanging. You don't need them. You never did. And that's the punchline. That's the joke. So laugh, walk away, burn the script, and write your own story in fire and blood and silence. Because in the end, they'll remember you, not for the wounds or the rage or the darkness, but for the simple, unbreakable fact that you refused to kneel. And that, well, that's all that matters.